So where does Deutsche Bank go now? And what does it say about what needs to happen to the financial system as a whole as it stands right now?
Well, now in 2020, the bank and its executives is a new management team in place, and it is scrambling to save itself, really. I mean, last year they seriously considered merging with Commerzbank, which was at that point the number 2 German lender, and that was a merger that was being brokered by the German government because they're trying to save these 2 very sick banks. And those talks ended up falling apart because people realized that merging 2 big sick banks together was just going to create
one big sick bank.
One very big sick bank, not one big healthy bank, which is.
And that's what the Japanese did after their crisis, and that didn't work out so well.
No, I mean, that's not a recipe for success, right? The recipe for success is ripping off the Band-Aid and taking your painful medicine and getting it done with and hoping that you're doing it at a time where you have the breathing room. I'm mixing metaphors here, but you have the breathing room to be able to do that effectively. And Deutsche Bank did have that opportunity, didn't take advantage. So now it is racing to shed assets, shed employees, shed business lines. It's trying to retreat to its kind of German roots and be a European lender to European companies. And that means shutting down a lot of its Wall Street businesses and a lot of the businesses in the City of London. The bigger problem, though, I mean, there's a few problems that Deutsche Bank faces that I'm not sure are surmountable, to be honest with you. I mean, one of them is that they just have these still mountains of very risky derivatives and other assets that they do not know what to do with. It's not selling them means they'll have to recognize these huge losses that could essentially bankrupt the bank.
And is this a bankers trust thing, a legacy of bankers trust, or because that whole derivatives culture came from that acquisition?
Yeah, I was going to say it's certainly a cultural legacy. I'm not sure it's the financial legacy. I mean, I think that's very much of Deutsche Bank's own doing, but it's certainly a cultural legacy of having bought this derivatives-crazed bank at the end of the 1990s, which was a $10 billion deal that very quickly became a $10 billion albatross for the bank. So they've got this huge problem, this legacy problem of all of this garbage on their balance sheet that not only is it hard to get rid of, but if they do succeed in getting rid of it, creates a big financial hole for them. That's problem one. Problem two is that it's very questionable whether they have a viable business model going forward.
Right.
I mean, their German business, the whole reason they got into Wall Street in the first place is that the German business wasn't making any money.
Right.
It's not profitable. And in part because Germany is notoriously overbanked. There's thousands of banks in Germany serving a very frugal, savings-friendly customer base of both individuals and institutions. And so that's just it's not a great place to be doing business. There are all sorts of economic questions about Germany and Europe as well, obviously. So the business model is another problem. And the third problem, which in some ways is maybe the greatest problem, I think, is a cultural one, which is that this is a bank with tens of thousands of employees all over the world, and many of those employees have been very well trained over the years to do one thing and one thing only, which is maximize short-term profits. And they are not trained to think about this from kind of flipping the camera angle and looking at this from kind of a self-preservation standpoint. They're looking at this and are compensated for making money quickly. And if those incentives switch radically, why work at Deutsche Bank? And last year, as I was reporting on this book, I went down to Jacksonville, Florida, where Deutsche Bank has its big compliance and anti-money laundering operations. And I spent a few days down there talking to a lot of either current employees or recently departed employees, and just asking them how it was doing their job. Did they feel good about it? Are there problems? And it was interesting. I mean, I talked to probably 20 people, I'm guessing, and I heard one variation of the same thing from literally every person I spoke to, which is that people felt that they were being set up to fail by their managers and by executives up the food chain. And the reason was that they were being pushed to just churn through transactions. They were not being encouraged or incentivized to take their time and dig deep and err on the side of caution. They were being incentivized to do the exact opposite of that, to clear as many transactions as they could, as quickly as they could. And the employees viewed that as just setting them up not only to fail, but setting the institution up to fall into more money laundering problems or bribery problems or tax fraud problems and whatnot. And those are the kind of little scandals that bubble up that can really have enormous problems for the bank in the long term, especially in the US, where it's on very, very thin ice with American regulators who, this is a foreign bank that operates in the US at the pleasure of American authorities, and there's no guarantee that American authorities will continue to cut the bank a break at this point. And how it's the people in Frankfurt who are running the bank right now, they are well-intentioned and they are working hard, and I think they get it, but it's not easy you can't just say, okay, we are going to have a different, better culture now. We're rebooting, we're returning to our roots as a proud, national, kind of iconic German bank. Let's start over. It doesn't work that way. You need to get people, mid-level managers and low-level employees, all the way up to the kind of sales and trading people on Wall Street in the City of London. You need to get them all to change the way they're thinking about their jobs.
And it's taken 30 years for them to get to that position.
Exactly.
So it's going to take a long time to undo that.
Yeah, and I don't know that they have the time or the capacity to succeed in doing that. Maybe they do, but it's far from a sure thing. This isn't like one of those just like slow turnaround efforts that we know is going to get there because they're providing something of value and it's good for the world. This is a company operating in a highly commoditized business, far from its home markets, in a really overstretched way that has had disastrous results. You could make an argument that there's not a clear reason for them to exist.
I like that last line, actually. If you were an analyst, I guess you would put a sell on Deutsche.
Well, the thing is, their stock is down. It's remarkable. I mean, I haven't looked in the past couple of days, but it's down about 95% from its peak. So there's not that much further down for it to go, honestly. I mean, this is not a company the stock has been like riding high. It reflects these deep kind of existential investor doubts about its viability.